Hello everyone and welcome to Educational Webinar Jam. Today's webinar is about students' engagement, best practices for online interaction. This session will be delivered by Dr. Connie Mitchell, Vice Dean, Educational Services and Director, Teaching and Learning Center, Prince Sultan University. Dr. Mitchell has more than 24 years of experience in various universities in Middle East and also in United States. She has association with different TESOL International, TESOL Arabia, TESOL Greece, and she has also been a representative at Riyadh chapter for KSOLT here in Riyadh. Welcome, Dr. Connie. Without further ado, I would give the floor to you to present now. Hello, Dr. Connie, can you hear me?
Hi, Assalamualaikum. Sorry, I got kicked out for it. I got this. Now you see what I shared my.
Yeah, do you want me to share your presentation or you will?
I got it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well and enjoying their Saturday, their weekend. Inshallah. Okay, as Maria said, I've been in the field of higher education for 24 plus years. 20 of those years have been in Saudi Arabia. And I look forward to sharing with you today today's topic, student engagement best practices for online interactivity. And I hope we have fun in doing so. So for this first activity, I'm starting off with an activity, obviously, if this is all about online interactivity. So write a caption in the chat box for this photo. What best describes this photo? What do you see? What could be a caption for this particular photo?
Someone just said discipline, self-regulation, reminder.
Global tools?
Yes.
I've got two devices on. Okay, that's good. All right. So yes, I mean, now that we've switched to this, the pandemic has forced us to go into online education across the globe. What are some of the better strategies that we can see? If you're using your phone, a mobile phone, you should still be able to see my screen, but if you're typing, you have to close the chat box so that you can see the slides. Mr. Omar. Or you can pin my screen, yes. All right, thanks, Maria. Moving forward, so we started out with an activity, and then I'll talk a little bit about online interactivity. Yes, there are so many parts to consider when instructing online. Some best practices, and then we're actually going to play some games, if you will, that can hopefully foster and boost your interactivity online. So moving forward, we really do need to prepare ourselves for how to use tools that support online interactivity. And as I say to the faculty where I currently work, is that sometimes less is more. So you really do need to think about how you want to engage your students, the tools that you're going to use to encourage them to take part, motivate them, and get them involved with the different aspects of the particular courses that you happen to be teaching. So now again, in the chat box, what activities have you used to engage students during the online teaching and learning experience? personally, I use Google Classroom. I use Google Docs. There are a lot of interesting ways that you can use. Google Kahoot is another one. Online games, yes. Quizzes, there's Quizlet, Nearpod. So many tools out there. Blackboard, discussion board, Padlet, Zoom rooms, online questionnaires, quizzes, forums, Google Sheets, Jamboards, whiteboards. The list goes on, right? So many different tools that are out there. But as I said before, sometimes less is more. So we need to decide what's going to be best for us as teachers and our students. And we also have to recognize that just because our students, our current students, they have grown up in a digital age, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are familiar with all the tools that we are using. We have to show them how to use it. I can't emphasize this enough before going on and talking about all the things I have to talk about, is that whatever tool we're using, we need to make certain our students know how to use it. I've done lots of quick little video clips and shared them with my students so that they can know what they need to do and show them how to use the different tools. So for today, I'd like to start off with Bill Putz. This is from 2009, maybe a bit dated, but I think it's still effective given our current situation. He's a professor of psychology, and he was the Sloan Consortium Award for Excellence in Online Teaching winner. And he provides 3 principles of effective online pedagogy. Principle number 1 is let the students do most of the work. The more time students spend engaged with the content, the more they will learn. Principle number 2, interactivity is the heart and soul of effective asynchronous learning. Because when you think about online pedagogy, you have both the synchronous, like what we're doing right now would be synchronous because we're online at the same time and engaging online at the same time. Asynchronous is like when you upload things to Google Classroom and you expect your students to do outside or into your learning management system, whether it's Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas, whatever learning platform you happen to be using. Principle 3 is strive for presence, social, cognitive, and teaching presence. And I will spend quite a bit of time talking about principle number 3. Kathy Moore has a quote: the most important principle for designing lively e-learning is to see e-learning design not as information design, but as designing an experience. And this is extremely important. We are right now designing an experience for our students and for ourselves. I like to have fun when I'm teaching. I don't know about you, but I think it's important teaching, and I want my students to enjoy their learning experience. When I was a student, that's what worked for me. If I enjoyed the class, if I enjoyed the professor, I performed better. So how can we apply these theories in an online environment? So now I'd like each of you to reflect on this question for a moment. And then I'd like 2 or 3 people to share how they have or plan to apply different educational theories in our online environment. Just think about, how can we apply these different theories in an online environment? When we think about the teaching pedagogies that are out there, the different methodologies. Yes, you mentioned a lot of these tools here, but how are you using them in the online environment? What are you doing inside your classes that is promoting student engagement? Okay, that's been about a moment. You can write in the chat box. Using whiteboard for independent practice, yes. Thank you, Batsum. Somebody else like to share? On-screen annotation, yes. The nice thing about PowerPoint now is you can physically write on the screen. I know I'm using Google Slides right now, but using Kahoot for game-based learning and relinquishing control of the screen to students, yes, definitely. By designing materials and tasks that promote interactivity and engagement. Live worksheets, yes. I try to do a lot of the things that you guys are recommending right now. I don't use Zoom, I use Google Meets, but definitely. Thank you for sharing. So now let's putting theory into practice. Authors Coe and Rassen in the book Teaching Online, A Practical Guide assert that techies don't necessarily make the best online instructors. You need to have an interest in pedagogy first, and then technology second. And then O'Neill et al. Also said, it's important to make the technology as transparent as possible, and it should be viewed as a tool to enable learning the content of the course. Any tool that we're using should be supporting the students learning the content that we are wanting them to engage with. And this brings me to, I really enjoyed this theory, community of inquiry framework. And it takes into account our educational experience by looking at our social presence, our cognitive presence, and our teaching presence. Regardless of the environment, whether it's face-to-face or online. Currently, we are in the online environment, or at least the majority of us, I suppose, are still using online education. So our communication medium, what is it? Our educational context, what is it? Our discipline standards, what are they? And then the applications that we are expected to use. And this creates a complete educational experience. So if we go further into this, just to give you an idea of what these three presences are, if I can say that, okay, basically describes how learning for learners, and through educational experience, you have these three intersections, if you will, the social, the cognitive, and the teaching presence. Now, obviously, the social presence is the ability of the participants to project their individual personalities in order to identify and communicate with the community and develop interpersonal relationships. Whereas the cognitive presence is the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse. And then teaching presence. Right now, because we're in a completely different environment with the online, we as teachers have to learn and be comfortable with the online environment and teaching online. And then our students also have to learn how to learn online. So we need to incorporate that into our practices inside the classroom. So the teaching presence is basically design, facilitation, and direction of the social and cognitive processes for the purpose of realizing the relevant learning outcomes and to help our students feel our presence, that we are there for them. So for example, social presence, communication, group cohesion, and then you can see the student experience, valuing learning, opportunities to express views, encouraging collaboration, cognitive, the teaching presence, and you can see how it kind of fits together, and it builds this whole community of inquiry. Okay. Instructor guidance, building understanding, motivating, and then the student experience is defining and initiating discussion topics, sharing personal meaning, and focusing discussion. What I've noticed from my students this semester is that they sometimes have difficulty focusing. So I try to come up with activities that can help them to focus. And then a lot of times as teachers, educators, I know we've done a lot of PD sessions, or at least I have, over the last 8-9 months about how can we move from face-to-face to online. But sometimes I think we get stuck in our the way that we are used to doing things, and we forget that, sometimes when you're doing something that you would normally do in a face-to-face, it doesn't always work out the same way. You have to modify it. So how can we move or transfer from the face-to-face to the online environment? So if you look at discussion in forums, adult learners prefer this instructional strategy because it's interactive and facilitates participation. And the discussion format allows the learner to explore his or her life experiences and apply them to new situations. There's the self-directed learning, there's small group work. The online course can be divided into smaller, more manageable groups. The small group can discuss content, share ideas, problems, and provide peer feedback for clients. And then you can come back as the class as a whole. So there are lots of ways of being able to do this. Projects, collaborative learning. This is what I'm going to be doing in my class tomorrow. I'm going to have 3 students, each working on a collaborative activity, and they solve it together during class. And then I can be looking and seeing what they're doing and giving feedback at the same time. And I can be looking at my different groups. I think that's extremely important. And you can see here that research shows that the academic achievement of many students is increased when collaborative rather than competitive models of instruction are used. So online learning models are natural environments for collaborative learning, but must be designed carefully to be effective. I cannot emphasize this enough. They need to be designed carefully to be effective. Okay. And of course, projects can be done online as well, as long as they're tailored to give students an opportunity to pursue their special interests and relate to their chosen or career field. And they can be done individually or within groups, obviously. And you can see the reference for where these examples have come from at the bottom of the slide. Yeah, I like Google Slides and Google Docs as well. Now we have types of interactivity. Obviously, teacher to student and student to teacher. We hope that this is happening, but we should also have ample time for student and student. And then you also have to think about student and content. How are we going to have our students doing all 3 types of interactivity when we're in an online environment? So for example, you can involve students. Students need to understand that assessment is something done with for them, not to them. A lot of times we get caught up and we forget to explain to them that the assessment isn't there to trick them. It's not there to harm them. It's actually the opposite. It's to help them see how well they are learning. Whenever possible, involve students in the decision-making process, like the when, where, how, weighting, if you're allowed. I know in some situations it's predetermined for you. You don't have much control over your curriculum, but if you do, try to give your students some say. Try peer or self-assessments. It helps the students to be more engaged with the content and hopefully increases their ability to learn. And increased buy-in and transparency from student design test activities. Some of the things I have done here is I've asked my students to write some questions they think might appear on an exam or a quiz or an activity. And then usually I tell them I might use 1 or 2 of those questions that they have developed. And then it gives them some kind of say in what they're going to be tested on. And I think it motivates them more. Engaging students, I can't emphasize it enough. Do not treat the online class as a face-to-face class because they are different. Educate yourself as much as possible, and attending this webinar and all of the webinars that the educational webinar jam has conducted and continues to conduct can help along those lines. We need to think outside of the box if we want our students interacting with us, their peers, and the material covered in class. It can't just be the standard. You go in, you put up your slides, and you lecture, and that's it. No, it doesn't work that way. I don't even like teaching that way face to face. I'll be honest with you. Student engagement, what happens? Okay, I love cartoons. So if you're teaching K through 12, because I don't know much about my audience, so I try to adapt. This one is K through 12, the next one is higher education. I'm in higher education, obviously. But I can imagine with a group of young ones in an online environment, my dog is here or my cat is here. I have bananas and here's mom. This is my dad's shoe. My chair fell over. Okay, settle down, everyone. A lot different than in the face-to-face situation. Or this, if Bobby goes to school on Monday and Wednesdays and Susie goes to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, how many hours of online learning will they both have to do on Fridays? And then the boy is like, I hate these math questions. And then the girl's like, that's our schedule. I'm sorry, I find that humorous. Okay. Now, when we're tracing successful online teaching in higher education, voices of exemplary online teachers. Is there such a thing as a perfect online teacher? I'm not really certain, but it seems like we're expected to have so many tools and gadgets at our command that it's difficult. We need to be thinking about skill sets for the 21st century, building a new paradigm, because now it's a complete paradigm shift. The learning environments, the thinking pedagogy, information management, information overload, web access, building a new, I already said that one, creative and publishing. So there are so many things that are impacting the online teacher right now. It's just food for thought, and how are we using this information to support student engagement in the online arena? So this is going to bring me to, this is something that I participated in during the summertime, icebreakers, getting to know your activities and games. And I'm giving credit to the person it's from. She's from New York State, TESOL, Laura Bacher. So some of these activities, I have adapted some of them. She's quite helpful in providing information. So I'm just letting you know the next 11 to 12 slides are from her. And that's the New York State TESOL organization, and that's her email address. Giving credit where credit is due. And these are some of the icebreakers or game activities. Now you can see the icebreaker here. This is what I started us off with. Of course, I didn't start with the cute cat. I did something about online interactivity because that's the topic of today's presentation. But the cute cat is nice too. Can you think of a cute caption for the kitty cat? I'm allergic, by the way, so, but I do like cats. In the chat box, anybody can type if you had to create a caption for this, or think of a caption your students might have for this cat. Or too much work. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The raising hand. Yes, be aware. Yes, good. What you looking at? Yeah, I like that. Exactly. I think we can encourage our students to be creative and just have fun with it. And it's a good way for them to get to use their language if you are happen to be teaching a language course. Run, find, share. Now this one is fun, and I have done this with my students. Go and find something, and then you share it. You open your camera and you share it. And then you something that makes you feel very happy. Then you turn your camera on, share your object, and give the story behind it. And I'm being mindful of the time, so I would do it right now, but I had something, but I'm just mindful of the time. There's reverse show and tell. So you turn off your video, and then you turn your video on again and show you and an object. And then you ask your students, guess what it is and why it's important to me. And then you post your ideas in the chat or share them out loud. And then you vote on the best story. And then you can tell them the real story. This is nice. This one we can do. I would choose A because B. I would choose A or B and then because. So you would say A or B. Personally, I want A. I do not want to go to the snow, but there might be people who like snow. I miss seeing the water. Of course, I'm here in Riyadh, so a lot of sand and desert, but not actually the sea. So I missed a year and a half. So I would definitely choose A because I love the calming effect of the waves from the sea. Khaled, you said B. Why B? Now tell me why. Why B? So Jazan has lots of water. Lovely. Okay, so I mean, and you can be creative with your oath. I mean, obviously I chose, we're going towards winter now, but of course we don't get snow here in Riyadh. And I'm longing for the sea because you miss Scotland. Yes. Okay. Yes, exactly. It would be a great activity to compare and contrast or justify their reasons to support their judgment. Now, you can also do it with food. Okay, not just with locations, but you can do it with food. I would choose 1, 2, or 3 because, okay, so you can be as creative as you want and really help the students be engaged. Now, obviously, these are nice icebreakers, or if you're in a language classroom and you're trying to develop different phrases, you can be extremely creative in my opinion, as far as the different photos and then the choices, and then I would choose because, so on and so forth. Exactly. You can use it to recap the previous session. Another potential question for students to provide reasons for their choice. And of course, definitely with sports. Yes, you can definitely use it with sports as well. Now, here's another thing. 5 and 5 and 5. So you get into breakout rooms of 5, find out 5 things you have in common, and you only have 5 minutes, and then you have to report back to the main group. I like doing things like this. It really gives you a chance to know and especially in the online environment, because they don't have that face-to-face interaction, so it gives them a chance to get to know one another better. Collective bingo. This has a QR code. And then there is our turn. So I want you to take the QR code from here. Please scan the QR code and let's play bingo because I want us to play bingo. And once you've scanned once you have scanned it, okay, you should come to this. Okay, and then just type your name wherever wherever you, oops, let me change the font size there. My name doesn't need to be so big. So I'm typing in my name. So you can see this is all I need you to do is type in your name. And whoever gets bingos, so you can see, I mean, it's just a fun way. And then you can play, you can create, be creative with what's in the squares. Obviously, I put a few things in that are specific to me, but I try to be creative as well. I wish I could whistle loudly using 2 fingers. I cannot. I can't lick my elbow. Well, nope, I can't. I tried. Can't do it. I'll be impressed if anybody can. I can play soccer. I can ride a horse. I have a fish or a pet fish. I speak 3 or more languages. I speak Greek. If there's anybody here, Kalispara, Tikanes, who knows Greek. Okay, nice. Yes. For me, I think this would just be a fun activity to do to get the students involved. And if you're teaching like a content course, you can always change the content. You know, you have access to this, so you can download it, make a copy, and then you can change it to whatever you want. Use it to your specifications, to your specific course, and have fun with your students. Inshallah. I'll give you maybe 5 more minutes just to see if anybody gets bingo. I've stopped entering in my name because it's not right for me to get bingo. I want one of you to get bingo. Okay, Terry. Terry has bingo. Terry has bingo right here. Yay, Terry. Am I right? Yes. Terry, you can lick your elbow. I really want to see that. See that. Okay. All right. Okay, so you get the idea. Another example, where in the world? Again, there's a QR code here that you can use, and then it's like putting where you are. So it's a map, and then you can put a pen. If you see, this is the one that Laura used, and the people who have participated in her session, you can see they were all over the globe. But then, of course, you can always modify and adapt the activity to your students. Of course, maybe where they've traveled instead of where they are, because maybe they're all in one location. All of my students would be in Riyadh right now, I think. I hope. Interviews and introductions. This is just another activity where you can be involved and getting to know one another. Pictionary, if you like Pictionary, this is a QR code for Pictionary. I'm just giving you a chance to get it if you want. Thought Jots, if you're familiar with that, it's just a way of sharing different thoughts. It's interesting. Bamboozle, if you're familiar with Bamboozle, another game. Okay. Jeopardy. I like Jeopardy. Why not? Okay. Now share your ideas. I mean, I've shared Laura's and I've shared some of mine. What about you? What are some of the things that you have done in your classes? You can put it in the chat box. Verso, Coach, yes. Thank you, Shamila. Do you use your students' names when you're talking to them? I think it's important to also, one of the ways to keep the students motivated and engaged is to use their names. Call them by name or thank them by name. It's a way to keep them involved. Okay. Sure. I believe you can have the slides. They can be shared with you. It's not a problem, so that you can get the QR codes. I can go back, or you can have the slides. This is Jeopardy. Mentimeter is great too. Yes, definitely. That's Jeopardy, Bamboozle, Jots. Am I going too fast? Cosmic, I haven't heard of that one, but I will check it out. Yes, of course. Asking questions are important. Pictionary. I'm not so great at this one because I'm not an artist. Interviews and introductions. Yes, the recording will be shared. Where in the world? And then, of course, our turn, the bingo game that we played. Okay. Let's just move forward, being conscious of the time. Okay. And these slides that Laura created, credit goes to Slides Carnival. Okay. Now, online education requires preparation. So if you look at all of these different examples that have just been shared with you today, to increase interactivity across the three areas, it definitely requires a lot of preparation. I know it's even more so than when you're in the face-to-face classroom, because now you have to think about explaining it and making certain of the directions are clear, the teacher presence is there, the social and the cognitive presence, it's all there, and it's clear, and you're being as transparent as possible with the students. So it's really a lot of preparation, but it's worth it at the end, because then you can have your whole bag of tools and tips and tricks that you can be using for the future. You just need to modify and adapt. So like the bingo game that I just shared with you, you can easily download that and create it for all of your different courses that you use. Now, obviously, teacher to student interactivity, you have discussion boards, chat box, Google Hangouts, WhatsApp groups. I use WhatsApp groups with all of my students. There's forums, announcements via LMS and or Google Classroom, and you set the limitations. When your students can get a hold of you, when they can't get a hold of you, when you will respond, when you won't respond, like 2:00 in the morning. Now that we're past the emergency remote situation, I'm not going to respond to my students at 2:00 in the morning. I'll respond to them the following morning when I get up at a reasonable hour. So these are things that you have to decide, your engagement with your students. We do have to be creative with how to interact with our students online, because the face-to-face communication is not available. even if you have the camera on, like right now, I'm not necessarily going to see your faces. You might see mine if I have my camera on, but I'm not going to see your faces because I'm presenting my screen right now. So it's touch and go. Of course, D2L, Padlet, Top Hat, peer group discussion, the online platforms for learning. There are so many ways that we can engage with our students. Office hours are important, and scheduled office hours so that they know when they can meet you online to discuss what's going on. Yes, I agree, Omar. And then find ways for them to communicate. So this is actually from one of my WhatsApp groups with my students. And one of the students asked a question. It was a writing class. And one of my students asked about the third person. Because I had to tell them they had to write the assignment in the third person. So one of her classmates shared this photo to make it easy. First person, second person, third person. And I really appreciated her taking the time to answer the question before I had the opportunity to respond. And she did it in a nice way. So in conclusion, we need to be prepared for the online education. With your help, students can experience the same quality of education that is expected within the classroom online. And I know we can do it. I mean, I've looked at all of the examples that you have here, listed here in the chat box. It's just about thinking outside the box and not getting too focused on one particular way how we go about teaching in the classroom and getting students engaged. These are my this is contact details. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Dr. Connie. There is a question in the chat box for you.
Yes, what you sometimes due to technical issues, how do you handle that? Always have a contingency plan. They say to you, always have a contingency plan. If something happens with technology, have a backup plan. As you can see right now, I'm on 2 devices so that I can be sharing my slides with you and I can see what's going on in the chat box. And if your students have difficulty, make it so they can be working offline, and then when they can get connected again, it can be uploaded. I mean, there are a lot of strategies you can use in order to ensure that the students are being involved. We can't assume that all of our students have technology available to them at all times, but they might be sharing a laptop, 3 or 4 brothers and sisters, and they all have online education at the current moment. So we need to be respectful of that and understanding. Flexibility and patience are extremely important. Yes, the flipped classroom is definitely a great way to go about doing that. Yes, I can share the games again. You want the QR codes? Or do you want to see the bingo? As I said, Terry, I think Terry won. She was the first one, she or he. I don't know if it's a she or he. Who got 4 across. So congratulations, Terry. Okay, the code. Okay. Come back to the slides. I'll go back up. So you want the bingo? Okay, so somebody's asking for more details about the flipped classroom. Okay, this is the one from the bingo game that we just did, so you can copy that QR code. Everyone knows how to create a QR code, right? I can show you. Yeah, no, you create the activity and then assign the QR code. So you can see here, what I've done is I have an add-on in the Google Doc, well, in the Google Chrome, it says QR code maker, and then you can insert a QR code. So once you've created your document, whether it's a document or a Google Sheet or Google Slides, whatever the case may be, then you can just go to your add-ons, click QR code maker, insert QR code, and then it will show up here. Just give it some time. I already created one for so the QR code that I created should show up. You can generate, so text or link. You copy your link. So I had the link. You get the link from the Google Doc. Okay. I'm just going to show you how to do it. This is what I would do with my students anyway. I can get the link. So I can copy link. And you have to make certain if you're going, you know, who you want to share it with. This is open right now for anyone. Got it. So then I copy link. Okay. Done. And I put my link here. Control V. And then I say generate. And then there's my QR code. Very easy. Very straightforward. Does that help? Yeah, oh, so thank you, Arafat, for answering the flipped classroom. Yeah, sure, no problem, Carmel. You know, you see these things, and sometimes if you don't know, it makes it a little difficult, but it's no problem. It's easy to explain and very straightforward to use. Then either you can insert it, or you can, more options, you can email it, you can share it, and so on and so forth. Okay, you have the option. I'm not going to do that right now, though. Okay. Is that helpful? Any other questions?
Any other questions for Dr. Alia before we finish up? I think, Dr. Alia, that's it for today. Thank you so much for taking time and coming out the platform, and look forward for your continuous participation, inshallah. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Dr. Alia. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, no problem.
See you next time, inshallah. Bye for now.
Inshallah. Bye, everybody.